Now I can read, but I've gotta say, it's been pretty difficult for me to sit down and read a book. It might just be my eyes, but I get really tired after staring at paper with these little letters on it. I also notice my eyes start to get irritated. It feels like I just need to look away and focus off into the distance. I've also been watching a ton of YouTube. Like, I've spent probably 1,500 hours in the past year on YouTube. I've been so used to listening to words, where if I hear a word I don't know, I'll just look it up. If I don't know a word while reading, I just get so caught up with it, and I feel like I can't figure it out without looking it up. It feels like I'm getting taken out of the book and the atmosphere of it, but I usually end up losing where I'm at, and it feels like it's a hassle to look things up while I'm reading. Now, don't even get me started with how schools require you to read the goofiest books. Like, why am I reading a book about some fig tree? Just let me read what I want. I'm already not in the mood to read, and if I'm not excited about the story, I don't ever get motivated to sit down and read. I don't know if this is a hot take, but don't even get me started with all of the filler with details. While adding detail usually works for big story elements, I don't really need to know how a leaf crunches or the sky is some blissful blue color. Like, they just describe things like the sky as some abstract piece of matter which no one knows about. Like, I guarantee the book won't change at all if you just say that there's a clear sky. The book I'm reading for class also just throws out fun facts. Like, the book is telling me about people used to smuggle their favorite spleen sausage, cow stomach soup, or tuna eyeballs across the border. Like, sometimes I feel like these details don't need to be left in there, or they could be left to the reader's imagination. Sometimes even the story itself has elements which get dragged on for too long. Like, this book I'm reading for class dragged on like 3 chapters about how this girl screamed in a classroom after standing in front of the class for a good 10 minutes. Like, I don't really care about this, just move on to the next part. It's as if they're trying to evoke certain emotion through the writing, but in reality, I'm just getting tired of reading about the same thing for 20 minutes. Like, just please move on. I'm sure you don't need to drag out this single plot point to tell the story. Like, at one point, it talks about how trees are like stories. They don't grow in straight lines, they curve around. But it probably should have just ended right there. But then it went on about how trees grow and how that curve forms. Like, you made your point, now you're just rambling on. I literally think of it as a fun fact. It's something that a substitute teacher would do for the start of the class and then say, "Go tell your parents that you learned something today." I hope I'm not just crazy and someone else had a substitute teacher that does that. I know reading is probably good for me, but I just can't sit with it. I ended up just sitting down and listening to an audiobook instead. What I mean is I literally sat down and listened to an audiobook. That is it. I didn't do any other homework, I didn't try to multitask, just straight listening. I found it helps me retain the story better, in case I need to remember it for a class, like if I have a quiz coming up. I feel like when I read, a lot of the information I read doesn't actually stick with me. It's just immediately gone when I'm trying to read the words on the page. So just switching to straight audiobooks has actually kind of helped me a little bit. I also just read some reviews about the book I have for school, and a lot of them say that there isn't great plot structure. So it seems like I'm not the only one thinking this. The book sort of switches between the normal story and then how this fig tree is narrating it, but it just sort of repeats itself over again. Now, for the most part, what I said was still applicable to a lot of books I've read, but this specific one over-exaggerates that feeling a lot. Recently, I have been wanting to get into reading, but some of these books are just not it. I'd like to read some of the stuff that's been around for decades or even centuries that, like, hold their weight. The books that have survived multiple generations and that people can relate to or just know of a good story. Some of the books I've read through school recently are just books that have come out within the past few years, which really aren't that good. But I do see how reading can benefit you and how, like, seeing how new words are used or what they mean can give you a lot more intelligence. So I am not opposed to reading, but it's just, it's a struggle. Anyways, I just wanted to rant to see if anyone else has a similar issue. I don't even know if you could call it an issue, because it's not that big of a deal. Oh well, bye.